you just look at this guy. Just how do you not love him? How do you not love that face? Just you listen to him on 97.5 for the Fanatic. You can catch him on the weekends. You catch him during the week when he fills in. Does a phenomenal job. He also co-hosts the weekend shows with the great Tyrone Johnson as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. Hunter Brody, Brodes Media. Brodes, what's up, brother?
I thought you were going to bring me in as Abraham Lincoln with what's occurring on my face right now. Since this is a visual pod, I just need to let the people know this isn't by choice, but I am a brown-headed man that decided James Harden's in town. Let me blossom this beautiful beard into something great, and I turn into Honest Abe. So whatever this is, it is, but I'm dedicated, just like Embiid is, to put the team in a great position to win a championship by buying into the beard life.
I have to say, you got the flattening thing going on at the bottom of the beard. Are we trying to eventually grow it into like a point, more Harden-esque?
I have no answer for you right now. All I know is this thing is insane, and I'm kind of enjoying it. The fiance, not so much. Got to the point where, hey, you're tickling me a little too much. Oh, okay, all right. I guess we'll have to tone it down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So I will say this. I had like really dark brown hair when I had hair, and now that I have like full on no hair and a beard, my beard is like jet black compared to my like dark brown hair. My other friend, jet black hair, red beard. I don't know why is that. What's the genetics going on there? I don't even know.
Well, we did search this up, the great Dylan McKinnon, and he did some research, and we were trying to break down a lot of information, and it just came down to I'm a jerk off.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, unfortunately, you're a J.O. Anyway. So that's Dylan. That's a little inside humor for people. Anyway, so how about these 76ers? I'm beside myself. I am overwhelmed. I opened the show by talking about how I am smitten. I am in deep smit with the 76ers team. The Harden, Embiid Sixers, and soon to be also Tyrese Maxey Sixers are just so damn enjoyable to watch. What are your early takeaways of seeing these guys play together for the first two games of their tenure together?
This is amazing. It's so much fun. I can't wait for their games to come on. I mean, we're talking about a regular season of NBA basketball. Normally, you just go through the motions, and some games stand out more than others. When you see Milwaukee, when you see Boston, those are highlighted. But normally, when you play Orlando or Minnesota or a stinking Knicks team who isn't very good, it's just one of those casually watch in passing. Not no more, my friend, because this is outrageous. We thought the pick and pop would be great, and it is. Let's factor in a pick and roll and then him roll into the basket, which opens up Tyrese Maxey. What you see is just a professional offense being run with a point guard who is magnificent passing the basketball, but is also a threat to score as well. And you see what that means for the rest of the team. And look, you're still kind of playing 5-on-4 because of Matisse Thybulle, but because of his ability to cut, which is somewhat a little bit entertaining, but I still have my long-term worries. My point is, when you have the talent that you have in Embiid and James Harden, you can make up for the deficiencies of some other players in your starting five. Every team has some players that aren't as elite as others that win championships, and your superstars just make up for those issues. And maybe that's the case for Matisse, but you have a scary tandem in Embiid, in Harden, and Maxey, and the spacing is so absurdly different that we were brainwashed for quite some time, and this is what it's supposed to look like, and it's fun.
That's exactly what I opened the show with when it came to the spacing. That's the number one buzzword I need to hear more of when talking about the Harden Sixers. You know, Harden as a member of the squad, still Joel Embiid's team, but that's what we didn't have with Ben Simmons because he was zero threat to shoot from the outside. When you actually have to D up somebody, that creates space for everybody else, especially when it's Harden or Embiid being double teamed. That to me is what's jumped out the most, is that there's just so much room on the floor now.
Absolutely. And Maxey, obviously, I was asked this a few weeks ago before everything started to play out. And once the trade first happened, who was going to be able to maximize their potential based off of Harden being here? And I think normally, organically, you would just think, well, Embiid, because of the spacing and you have to choose who to double and whatnot. But it really is Maxey because he gets the ball more wide open than I ever could have imagined, because you're highlighting the fact that you have to take care of those two stars first. And then Maxey's this generational player it seems like he's growing into. That 3-point shot at the end of the Knicks game, look, you're playing with Embiid. You're playing with Hart. I want the shot. I want that three. And that was a close game. That was a monster three made. The fact that he had the balls and said, give me that opportunity, I want it, and drilled it with ease, that was a step back three by Tyrese Maxey. In what universe is that really where we're at with this kid? It just says a lot about, one, how much he soaks in all the information and is a huge sponge, just growing so fast at a rapid pace I could barely keep up. But he's legit. He's a real stud, and he's blossoming in front of our eyes.
No, absolutely. Now, the other part of this is it shouldn't be any bit of breaking news that in a trade that involved Ben Simmons and James Harden, the Sixers got the better player in James Harden. That shouldn't even be a debate. But when you break it down, some people are like, well, he's not going to defend like Ben Simmons. He's not going to facilitate like Ben Simmons. He's not going to run the floor like Ben Simmons. He's not going to rebound like Ben Simmons. Other than the defensive thing, everything else has been far better than what Ben Simmons could ever bring to the table here in Philadelphia.
And not only Ben Simmons, but a name that definitely popped off due to the trade stuff was Seth Curry as well, right? Because But here's the thing. It's like, okay, James Harden is replacing Seth Curry. He's better at shooting the ball, at distributing the ball. He's better at defending, which doesn't mean he's a great defender. It means you're better than Seth Curry, which isn't hard to do, but he's a better rebounder. He's better in every single area of the game of basketball than Seth Curry. I don't understand why there was ever a reaction to be upset with moving a player who didn't even want to show up here, a nice starter in Seth, and an Andre Drummond that wasn't going to re-sign at the end of the season anyway. So the compensation was a no-brainer for me if you're Daryl Morey, even with the first-round picks, that whatever, it is what it is. You got James Harden. James Harden. People said, get rid of him. Just get rid of Ben. Go get Sexton. Go get this. Go get that. You got James Harden. And somehow people were still upset about that all. And when you tie it to what you lost in Ben Simmons, the difference is Ben Simmons was solid in certain areas, and he could really push the pace. And with an open floor, he can find guys in the corner. He also did frustrating things like leave both feet and try and kick it back out. And it was awful when there were trailers who caught up to the play because he elected to move up in the air, pick up his dribble, and kick it back out. It was just ridiculous. We all know the story. But when James Harden facilitates, when there's a pick and roll and he's patient, I like to utilize a quarterback as a comparison. A floor general is like a quarterback, and the patience of reading the defense in a half-court set while operating a team to play a certain way, Ben Simmons could never do that. James Harden reads the D, and then he uses his patience and poise to analyze, okay, do I pass it to Embiid? Do I look for Maxey? Is it Tobias Harris? Just the IQ of the game when it's slowed down in the most important moments. It's just night and day from what you're getting from Harden.
Certainly. And this is what I think a professional NBA offense should look like. I feel like if Ben Simmons would have progressed in his career, talent, and skill set the way Joel Embiid did throughout his career, I feel like this is what we could have watched at least last year with the 76ers, with Ben Simmons running the point. And that's not saying he'd be raining threes, but, have the ability to shoot a three. Like 99.9% of the NBA have that ability, have the ability to shoot from even a 15-foot jumper. I feel like what we just watched was the Sixers offense go in hyperdrive to what they could have obtained, I think, if Ben Simmons matured and progressed the way a guy like Joel Embiid did.
And it really puts it in perspective when you see this compared to what you had. And that's why whenever there's, hey, get rid of this Ben Simmons talk, no one cares. He's not here anymore. Where it does matter because you're trying to relate what you're seeing now to what some of the deficiencies were in the past. So just like when Wentz was out of town, did you study what he was doing with the Colts and looking at Jalen Hurts and thinking about the difference in this and that? Absolutely. When Brett Brown left and Doc Rivers came in, weren't you thinking about what Doc Rivers did differently than what Brett Brown did? So it makes sense to look at it from that perspective. And I love the way that you labeled it because it's perfect. It's a professional style of offense that relates to playoff basketball. And that's why, I got a couple calls tonight because we're recording this on Sunday night. And I got some calls right after the game. And some of the thoughts was, who cares? It was only the Knicks and only the Timberwolves. I'm going, really? Really? That's where we're at right now? And if you truly feel that way, one, did you want them to lose? And two, it's not about winning or losing these games. It's what does it look like? And does this translate to the most important times of an NBA game in the postseason? That's half-court sets. And to answer your question, my own question, yes. Yes, this does relate to that. So that's why it matters. It's not about beating the Knicks or the Timberwolves. It's what does this mean for the long term? And this means winning basketball.
For me, I feel like the last 2 months of the season, the regular season, are going to be obviously a ramp up to the postseason, but this is going to be the great getting to know you run and how long the honeymoon stage can last with James Harden, with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. I think Matisse Thybulle still plays for the team, but I can't confirm it, just sources. When you look at all these guys, man, I just can't wait till they all really start to gel, because if this is only the beginning, I can't imagine how high this team can actually fly.
I would love to get your thoughts on the Thybulle thing, though, because for me, I've been very harsh on him, and he's someone who's definitely on my radar, and I love what he brings defensively, and it's a shame that he can't shoot the ball from three because it is hurting him. But as I mentioned earlier, that he does cut, and if you're going to double team an Embiid, and he's anticipating it very well, where he sees it 5-6 seconds before it even happens, it seems like he can find a Matisse Thybulle, and that's huge.
I'm an idiot. Did I say Thybulle? I was talking about Harris.
Oh, yeah, you did say Thybulle.
I'm an idiot. What do you do? Why would you come on?
Abraham Lincoln. So whatever. It doesn't even matter at this point.
No, I argue for Thybulle. I definitely argue for Thybulle in the starting five over Danny Green. That's my stance. And it's defensively, and it's the fact that he cuts to the basket. You and I think, have the same argument there. But Harris is the guy that I'm just like, there's no room for a max contract guy that's doing so little, pretty much.
Yeah, he's really bad right now. But I'm okay. I get the frustration with him, and it's fair. He put up barely anything. He did hit the major three, though, that I have to give him credit for. But obviously not even close to enough for the full body of work. And he put together a good 5 weeks of basketball before the All-Star break. He started off miserable. Then he had a good 5-week span or so before the break. And now this, after the break, looks more like what we saw in the beginning of the season. And I'm not giving him a pass by any means. He's obviously someone that I'm going to criticize when he plays poorly, but I just feel he's been involved too much in this league for this to be the norm. This is such an outlier to Tobias, even though he's overpaid. That's stressed enough. He does not deserve that money. But even within his play, outside of how much he has made in his career and what he's getting paid now in Philadelphia, he's better than this. Like, he just is. I'm a big back of the baseball card guy. Andrew McCutchen last year in left field were dropping balls that hit his palm. And then, I don't know, Mickey Moniak would even make some of those plays. And Andrew McCutchen was screwing it up. I knew he was better than that. And then at some point, he led the NL in OPS for a good 3-month span. So I use that logic with, I'm not expecting Tobias Harris to be a world beater, but last year in the playoffs, he averaged 37% from three. He won't have the same volume of shooting this year in the playoffs, but can he at least give you 37% from three in the playoffs? And I think he can. I don't think that's outrageous to assume that he can do that. So I don't know where he's at in his mind, but he's better than this. I know he is.
I agree with you on that. Expectations. I've been asking everybody this. Expectations before Harden got here. Expectations now. 2 games in to the Harden Embiid era of the 76ers. How far will this team go pre and post trade?
Not that this is a hot take by any means, but superstar talent wins in the NBA. And I honestly felt that Embiid was playing so insane that while it might have been a reach, you could have gotten the farthest you ever gotten, even with Ben Simmons, with Joel Embiid before you made the trade with James Harden, because superstars just will you as far as possible. Now, look, I mean, maybe they would have hit a wall in the second round again and got to the same exact point, but I wouldn't rule it out because that's how great. Joel was the best player on the planet before the trade. He's still the best player on the planet now, but that's how great I thought he was playing, where I couldn't rule out, and maybe some of it had to do with, I'm not afraid of DeMar DeRozan, even though he's having a nice season, very nice season. There's no Golden State Warriors. There's no LeBron James. I'm also analyzing the fact that the Eastern Conference is somewhat wide open. So that played a role in maybe why I felt, because of Joel Embiid's dominance, that maybe you could have got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Look, the Atlanta Hawks went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so I couldn't have ruled it out. Now, this is NBA championship caliber basketball.
Wow!
It is. So it's time to put your heart on the table and say, this year it could be done. They also have an opportunity, though, for a nice little 3-year window or so, 3-4-year window, if it doesn't pan out this year, and if it does as well, obviously. But, yeah, now's the time to actually have the NBA Finals discussion.
Totally agree with you. And this is too much optimism for one show. So
don't you dare.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
What are you bringing up right now?
No. It's not going to be that bad. I'm going to mention that other team that plays on ice. What's the trade value for a guy like Claude Giroux, you think? What if they trade Claude Giroux, which I'm like 1,000% sure they will? He agrees to be traded and all that. What do you think they could possibly get back from Claude Giroux right now?
Okay, so I really don't want to make you upset here. And this is probably a horrendous answer. As a hockey guy, I'm disappointed in myself. But I honestly don't know. And I don't know. And I think that's why I'm really fascinated by this. And I don't think they're just going to get rid of him to get rid of him. They're looking for compensation that would make the Flyers better during this new era, I guess, after this season, the Claude Giroux-less era, which breaks my heart to say. But I am fascinated to think about what they are going to acquire, but they need to make some major changes. And real quickly, from what I'm hearing, I don't mind their plan. It's just about execution. And if you could trade Giroux and Justin Braun, which would be 2 UFAs, and if you can buy out JVR and you can pick up the phone to acquire something for a Sanheim or a Konechny, and then utilize some money to go out and sign maybe 2 or 3 free agents. That's what I'm hearing they're trying to do. And I don't mind it from a blueprint standpoint before we see everything that ends up happening. It just comes down to, do you have the right people in place to execute it well enough to put this team in a better position for next season? So that's what I'm hearing they're trying to do. So TK, Sanheim, maybe you trade them in the offseason, move G and Braun in the trade deadline, and buy out JVR in the offseason as well, and trying to find a whole new mix of guys from there. I don't mind it, but I also don't know if I trust everyone pushing the buttons.
I think that, and I agree with that. I think they got to get something sexy. They got to get something sexy that, even if it's a prospect, that people go, oh, like just something to make even the casual Flyers fan go, oh, well, look at that. Right. And then Sean Couturier, captain next year?
Probably. I don't know where else it would go. Yeah, Cootie's been around the block for a while. The Flyers, oh, man, they piss me off so much.
Me too, my friend. Me too. Hunter Brody, you can catch him obviously on his YouTube channel. You can catch all things with Brodes Media. Make sure you guys do that. Subscribe to all that great stuff. Subscribe to Hunter Brody, obviously, on YouTube if you haven't already. I mean, if you haven't, are you even a sports fan in Philadelphia? And then obviously catch him on 97. And also catch him on 97.5 The Fanatic as well. Brodes, hey, I'm glad I could talk to you this Sunday night when I wasn't hammering off my ass. Thank you very much.
Do you want to tell the people what you named this chat for us to join?
I will just say it was the Huge Genitalia Show. That's it. It's Huge Genitalia. Join the Huge Genitalia Show. That's what I said.
Love it.
And I think you looked at it and went, well, that's spam. Delete. And then I just sent you another one. No, I was kidding. Hunter, great catch up. Hunter. Brodes, thanks so much, man. Great catching up with you, my friend.
Yeah, I'll end it on this. I keep getting emails about never mind. Thanks. You're welcome.
The great Hunter Brody joining us on the Rothman Orthopaedics guest line.